My grandson is 10 years old. He's quiet, observant, and wise beyond his years. So when he pulled me aside at Thanksgiving dinner and whispered, "Grandma, I need to tell you something about Richard," I should have listened right then and there. But I didn't. And that mistake almost cost me everything. Let me start from the beginning. My husband passed away 3 years ago. 52 years of marriage, gone in the span of one night. Heart attack. He was there when I went to sleep, and cold when I woke up. The doctors said he didn't suffer, but I did. Lord, I suffered. For 2 years, I barely left the house. My daughter would come by every weekend, bringing groceries, cleaning up, trying to get me to join her book club or her church group. I refused every time. What was the point? Harold was gone. The life we built together felt like a museum I was trapped in. Then, last spring, my neighbor convinced me to try one of those senior community centers, just for the social aspect, she said. You don't have to do anything. Just sit and drink coffee with people your own age. So I went. And that's where I met Richard. He was charming, distinguished, silver hair, kind eyes, and a smile that reminded me of Paul Newman. He said he'd lost his wife to cancer 5 years prior. He understood the loneliness, the grief, the feeling that life had somehow passed you by while you weren't looking. We started meeting for coffee, then lunch, then dinner. Within 3 months, Richard was a fixture in my life. He'd come over to fix things around the house. He'd bring me flowers for no reason. He'd hold my hand during movies and tell me I was beautiful. My daughter was skeptical from the start. "Mom, you barely know this man," she'd say. "Don't you think things are moving a little fast?" But I dismissed her concerns. She didn't understand. She still had her husband, her children, her full life. She didn't know what it felt like to eat dinner alone every night, to sleep in a bed that felt too big, to have no one to share the small moments with. Richard filled that void. By summer, he'd moved in. Looking back now, I can see all the red flags I chose to ignore. The way he'd get defensive when I asked about his past. The vague answers about his children who supposedly lived in California but never called. The fact that he always seemed to be between jobs, waiting on some investment to pay off. But love, or what I thought was love, made me blind. It was my grandson Tyler who first noticed something was wrong. Tyler is my daughter's youngest. He's a quiet kid, always watching, always thinking. He's the one who taught me how to use my iPad, how to video call, how to send those little emoji things. He's patient with me in a way most kids aren't with their grandparents. One Saturday in October, Tyler was at my house while his parents went to a wedding. Richard was out, supposedly meeting with a financial advisor about some property deal. Tyler was helping me organize my photos on the iPad when he suddenly went very still. "Grandma," he said slowly, "why does Richard have an email from a lawyer about your house?" I laughed it off. "Honey, Richard doesn't have access to my email." "No, Grandma. On your iPad. There's another email account logged in. And there are messages about your house. And your bank accounts." My blood went cold, but I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe Richard was helping me with something and I'd forgotten. Maybe Tyler misunderstood. "Let me see," I said. What I saw changed everything. There was an email account I didn't recognize linked to my iPad, and in that account were dozens of messages. Messages between Richard and a lawyer about transferring my house into his name. Messages with a financial advisor about my retirement accounts, my husband's life insurance, my savings. Messages with someone named Denise that made my stomach turn. "Miss you, baby. Can't wait until this is over and we can finally be together. The old woman is completely clueless. Another month and everything will be in my name." I couldn't breathe. 52 years with a man who loved me, who respected me, who would have done anything for me. And in less than a year, I'd let a stranger into my home, into my bed, into my finances. "Grandma? Are you okay?" I wasn't okay. But I knew I had to be smart about this. "Tyler, I need you to help me take pictures of all of these emails. Can you do that?" He nodded, his young face serious. "Are you going to call the police?" "Not yet. First, I need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Over the next hour, Tyler and I documented everything. Every email, every attachment, every damning piece of evidence. My hands were shaking, but Tyler was steady. He showed me how to screenshot, how to save the images to a folder Richard wouldn't find. When we finished, Tyler looked at me with those wise old eyes of his. "Grandma, I think Richard is a bad man." "I think you're right, sweetheart." That night, after Tyler's parents picked him up and Richard came home with takeout and that charming smile, I did something I never thought I'd be capable of. I lied. I smiled and laughed and pretended everything was normal while inside I was planning. The next morning, while Richard was in the shower, I went through his things. In the bottom of his suitcase, hidden under old clothes, I found a folder. Inside were documents. My documents. The deed to my house. My social security card. Bank statements I'd never seen before with my name on accounts I didn't know existed. He'd already started moving money. I felt sick. But I also felt something else. Anger. Pure, righteous anger. I was not going to let this man destroy my life. I put everything back exactly as I found it. Then I called my daughter. "Mom? What's wrong? You sound upset. I need you to come over." "But not now. Tomorrow, when Richard goes to his supposed meeting. And bring David." David was my son-in-law. A retired police detective. "Mom, you're scaring me. Just trust me. And don't say anything to anyone." The next day, while Richard was out, I showed my daughter and David everything. The emails, the documents, the hidden folder. David's face went from skeptical to furious in a matter of minutes. "This is classic romance fraud," he said. "I've seen cases like this before. They target widows, build trust, then drain them of everything. Some of these guys run the same scam on 5, 6 women at a time." "What do we do?" my daughter asked. David was already on the phone. "I still have contacts at the department. We need to do this right, get law enforcement involved. If we tip him off, he'll disappear and do this to someone else." Over the next 2 weeks, I became an actress. I smiled at Richard. I cooked him dinner. I let him hold my hand while we watched television. And all the while, the police were building a case. They found out his real name wasn't Richard. It was Robert Malone. He had 3 outstanding warrants in 2 states. He'd done this before, twice, to other widows. One woman lost her entire life savings. Another had a heart attack from the stress and died before the case went to trial. The police wanted to catch him in the act. They asked if I'd be willing to wear a wire. "Whatever it takes," I told them. The night they planned to arrest him, I was terrified. But I thought about Harold, about the life we'd built together, about how this monster was trying to steal everything we'd worked for. And I thought about the other women, the ones who'd already fallen victim, and the ones who might be next if we didn't stop him. Richard came home late that night, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. "I have wonderful news," he said, that fake smile plastered on his face. "My investment finally came through, but I need to move quickly on a property deal. I was thinking, since we're partners now, maybe you could help me with the down payment. How much do you need? Just transfer $50,000 from your savings to this account." He slid a piece of paper across the table. "It's a sure thing, I promise. We'll double our money in 6 months." I looked at the paper, at the account number, at this man who had never loved me for a single second. "You know what, Richard? I don't think I will." His expression flickered. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I know who you are. I know what you've been doing. I know about Denise. I know about the other women. And I know your real name isn't Richard." For a moment, he looked stunned. Then his face transformed into something ugly, something I'd never seen before. "You stupid old woman," he snarled. "You have no idea what you're doing." "Actually, I do." That's when the door burst open. 6 officers stormed in, guns drawn. Richard, or Robert, tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They had him on the ground in seconds, cuffing his hands behind his back. "You'll regret this," he screamed at me. "You'll regret this for the rest of your miserable life." I walked over and looked down at him, this pathetic man who'd tried to destroy me. "The only thing I regret is not listening to my grandson sooner." They took him away. The trial was 6 months later. He was convicted on 12 counts of fraud, identity theft, and elder abuse. The prosecutor said it was one of the most elaborate romance scams she'd ever seen. He'd stolen over $2 million from women across 4 states before he found me, but I was the one who stopped him. After the verdict, I sat outside the courthouse with Tyler. He was eating an ice cream cone, acting like any other 10-year-old. "Grandma," he said. "Yes, sweetheart? I'm glad you believed me." I pulled him close. "I'm glad you told me. You're the bravest person I know." He shrugged, licking his ice cream. "I just didn't like how he looked at you, like you were a thing, not a person." Out of the mouths of babes. It's been a year since then. Richard, Robert, whatever his name is, will be in prison for a long time. The money he stole from the other women is gone, but at least he can't hurt anyone else. As for me, I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. My daughter comes by more often now. Tyler and I have movie nights every Saturday. I even went back to the senior center, though I'm much more careful now about who I trust. I learned something through all of this. Something important. Age doesn't make you wise, it just makes you old. Wisdom comes from paying attention, from listening to the people who love you, from being willing to admit when you've made a mistake. I made a terrible mistake trusting that man. But I made a good decision listening to my grandson. Sometimes, the people who see us most clearly are the ones who've known us the shortest time. Tyler didn't have years of loneliness clouding his judgment. He didn't have grief making him desperate for connection. He just saw what was right in front of him and had the courage to speak up. I almost lost everything. My home, my savings, my dignity. But in the end, what I found was more valuable than any of that. I found my strength. I found my voice. And I found out that even at 65 years old, I'm not someone to be underestimated. Last week, I got a letter from one of Robert's other victims, a woman named Eleanor from Arizona. She thanked me for stopping him, for making sure he couldn't hurt anyone else. She said reading about the trial gave her closure. I wrote her back. I told her it wasn't me who deserved the credit. It was a 10-year-old boy with sharp eyes and a good heart. She wrote back saying she wanted to meet Tyler someday, to thank him in person. I told her she was welcome anytime. Now, I'm sitting on my porch, the same porch Harold and I sat on for 52 years. The sun is setting, the same way it always has. The neighborhood sounds are the same. The birds, the distant traffic, the children playing down the street. But I'm different now. I'm not the naive woman who fell for a con man's lies. I'm not the grieving widow who was so desperate for companionship that she ignored every warning sign. I'm not the victim Robert Malone tried to create. I'm a survivor. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: listen to the children in your life. They see things we don't. They notice what we've trained ourselves to ignore. They trust their instincts in ways we've forgotten how to. When Tyler told me he needed to talk to me about Richard, I should have dropped everything and listened. I should have trusted that this child, who had nothing to gain and everything to lose, was trying to protect me. I almost learned that lesson too late. But almost is not the same as too late. And second chances, even at my age, are still chances worth taking. So if a child in your life comes to you with a warning, a worry, a feeling they can't quite explain, please, for the love of God, listen. It might just save your life. The other day, Tyler asked me if I was ever going to date again. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my tea. "Sweetheart," I told him, "I think my dating days are officially over." He grinned that mischievous grin of his. "Good, more movie nights for us." And you know what? He's absolutely right. Some chapters of our lives are meant to close. And some, the ones filled with family and love and the people who truly matter, are meant to keep going. I'm 65 years old. I've been married, widowed, and conned. I've loved deeply and trusted foolishly. I've hit rock bottom and climbed my way back up. And through it all, the one constant has been my family. My daughter, who worried about me even when I pushed her away. My son-in-law, who used his skills to protect me. And my grandson, my brilliant, brave, wonderful grandson, who saw a monster where I only saw a charming smile. Harold would be proud of all of them. He'd be proud of me too, I think, for fighting back instead of giving up. I talk to him sometimes, late at night when the house is quiet. I tell him about my days, about Tyler's grades, about the garden I'm finally tending again. I like to think he can hear me. Somewhere. And I like to think he sent Tyler to save me. Because that's what happened, really. I was saved, Not by the police, not by the legal system, not even by my own instincts. I was saved by a 10-year-old boy who loved his grandmother enough to speak up, even when he was scared. That's the kind of love that matters. The kind that shows up. The kind that pays attention. The kind that says, something's wrong here, and I'm not going to stay quiet about it. We could all use a little more of that love in our lives. I know I could have, but I have it now, and I'm never letting it go. The sun has fully set now. The porch light flickers on automatically, the one Harold installed 30 years ago. The crickets are starting their evening chorus. Tomorrow, Tyler is coming over for our Saturday movie night. He wants to watch some superhero film I've never heard of. I'll make popcorn with too much butter, the way he likes it. We'll argue about whether the hero made the right choice in the third act. He'll fall asleep on the couch, and I'll cover him with the blanket my mother made, the one that's older than he is. It's a small life. Quiet. Ordinary. But it's mine. And nobody. Not Richard, not Robert, not any man with a fake smile and empty promises will ever take it from me again. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there. I hope it reminds you that it's never too late to fight back. Never too late to trust the right people. Never too late to start over. And most importantly, I hope it reminds you to listen to the children. They know more than we think. They see more than we realize. And sometimes, they're the only ones brave enough to tell us the truth. God bless, and stay safe.